Welcome to another episode of Sports Central Podcast. Today's episode may be fairly short because I'll actually be busy again tonight. I'm sorry for no upload yesterday, but I'm just gonna publish this podcast today. I'm recording it today. And I'll publish what today is supposed to be, what I was supposed to post today. So you'll get 2 episodes on this day. Honestly, all my topics came from Instagram. That's where I found everything. I have all those posts saved, and I'm just going to kind of read everything off and talk about them. This episode is not very organized, but it's an episode. So the Cavaliers, it's kind of a thing with LeBron James and soccer player Cristiano Ronaldo. They're both star players who left their former teams for other teams. And since LeBron has left the Cavs, the Cavs are 0-6. They're last in the East, and they fired their coach, Tyronn Lue. Real Madrid, since Ronaldo left, they have 4 wins in 10 league games, 9th in La Liga, and their manager was fired. So 2 great players left 2 teams, and very common things happened to those 2 teams. Adrian Peterson becomes the oldest player in NFL history to score a 60-yard rushing touchdown. And I actually did do something. I prepared my own 2019 way too early power rankings. And, these are MLB World Series. Or not World Series, but after the World Series I made these. And I was scrolling on Instagram, and I noticed ESPN's list looked very similar to mine. So similar, in fact, we have the exact same power rankings, top 10 power rankings. So, I'm going to read off those power rankings. Number 1, Houston Astros. Number 2, New York Yankees. Number 3, LA Dodgers. 4, Boston Red Sox. 5, Atlanta Braves. 6, Cleveland Indians. 7, Milwaukee Brewers. 8, Chicago Cubs. 9, Tampa Bay Rays, and 10, St. Louis Cardinals. Ryan Fitzpatrick will start for the Buccaneers in Week 9 against Carolina. So after Cleveland fired Hugh Jackson, they also fired Todd Haley, their offensive coordinator. So it's clear the Browns want to make some adjustments. Red Sox player Steve Pearce was named the World Series MVP. And here are the NBA power rankings of Week 3. Number 1, Golden State Warriors. 2, Toronto Raptors. 3, Milwaukee Bucks. 4, Boston Celtics. 5, New Orleans Pelicans. 6, Utah Jazz. 7, Denver Nuggets. 8, Indiana Pacers. 9, Portland Trailblazers. And 10, Philadelphia 76ers. Of course, the number 3 Milwaukee Bucks beat the number 2 Toronto Raptors. And they're 0-7. And that is their best start. That's their best start since they won the championship all the way back in 1971. And let me just get back to where I was. Patrick Mahomes has thrown for over 300 yards in all of his games. I thought that was pretty neat. He's thrown for over 300 yards in every single game. His lowest total was against the Broncos in Week 4, and he only had 304 yards. Of course, the Bucks beat the Raptors. And out of 219 coaches in the history of the NFL, Hugh Jackson rates 218th all-time on the win percentage. And who's 219th? Who's the last place, you may ask? The former Eagles head coach Burt Bell ranks last, but he couldn't be fired because he was the owner. And speaking of Hugh Jackson and his winning percentage, his record was 336-1. That's about a 9% winning percentage. So, out of so that means if he were to win if he were to play 10 games with the Browns, he'd win about one of them. Not quite one, but about one. Of course, the Red Sox won their 9th championship in their franchise history. Cleveland's MTAR coach is Greg Williams. He is the defensive coordinator, or he was. Of course, now he's the head coach. The World Series for Boston, that was their 4th in 15 years. 2 days ago was the Bills' anniversary. And, of course, I just have to be honest, they haven't had much success. And, so, on Sunday, this past Sunday, LA teams went 3-2. The LA teams, and the 2 games they lost, that's the games needed to win. One of those losses was the Dodgers, of course, when they lost the World Series, and the other was an MLS team, the LA Galaxy. Of course, a star on there is Zlatan. Can't pronounce his last name to save my life, but if you're familiar with soccer, he's a trash talker, and he's just, to me, he's a really funny guy. But the LA Galaxy didn't make the playoffs or the postseason either. Now, 2 of the best players in baseball, Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig, have been compared to Steve Pearce, the Red Sox player I was talking about a while ago, because they're the only players with back-to-back World Series games when they score. I read that horribly wrong. They're the only players with at least 1 home run and 3 runners batted in RBI in back-to-back World Series games. And of course, against the Chicago Bulls, Klay Thompson made the most 3-pointers in a single game with 14. He did so in, I believe, 27 minutes. And he scored 52 points. The Bucks are 7-0. They won their game against the Raptors 124-109. Stephen Hauschka, former Seahawks kicker, now the Bills kicker, has accumulated 1,000 career points. The Timberwolves beat the Lakers 124-120. And I thought this was funny. The Sacramento Kings posted a picture on Instagram. It said, "Which is worse?" It had a picture of candy corn and the LA Lakers. Of course, the Sacramento Kings have their troll game in mid-season form. Now, I have about 3 breaking stories, and that'll also be the end of this podcast, just those 3 little stories. So, our first little topic here is the Broncos traded wide receiver Demaryius Thomas and a 7th-round pick to the Houston Texans for a 4th-round pick and a 7th-round pick. Of course, Demaryius Thomas, the leading receiver he was the leading receiver at Denver. And now that Will Fuller is out, Houston needs another good receiver. Golden Tate, the Lions' leading receiver, is being traded to the Philadelphia Eagles for a 3rd-round pick. And former Green Bay Packers running back Ty Montgomery was traded to the Ravens for a 2020 7th-round pick. Honestly, I think that's all I have this episode. It's a bit of a disoriented, kind of short, but I gotta record another podcast, and I'm gonna do something later on involving my personal life. Sorry for the inconvenience, but thank you for understanding. But also, thank you for listening to this episode of Sports Center Podcast. I will talk to you all next time.